right. Okay, so let's get underway. So what is it? It's 7:01. We're almost starting on time. And the first thing we have on our agenda is to approve the minutes from the October 7th, 2020 board meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, Paul seconds. Is there discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, 5-0-0. I'm reordering my tiles here so I can get everyone on the board on top. There we go. I like this new feature. Now I can keep track of the votes better. I forgot to do that when it started.
I didn't know there was a new feature, but.
Okay, next item is to approve the agenda for tonight's board meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, Bill makes the motion. Is there a second? I see
Second.
Bog with his
Bog
hand for a second.
Oh, go with
Okay.
Bog.
Is there discussion? Ginny?
Yes, I'd like to make an amendment to just add to the agenda a brief discussion about speeding traffic that seems to be occurring not just in Oakland Mills, but all over the county.
Ooh,
Just a
you're
brief-
so
Oh,
right.
okay. I guess since it's countywide, we'll add that as new business for 10 minutes,
Oh, no, couple of
5
minutes.
minutes, 5 minutes. Okay.
2.5, going once, no.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve the agenda. We have a second. We have an amendment to add 5 minutes to new business about speeding throughout the county. Any other discussion on the agenda?
No, I don't. see-
Okay. All in favor of approving the agenda with the proposed amendment? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that'll make the rest 0-0 since there are 5 of us, 5 voting members here. Okay, resident remarks. If any of our residents out there have remarks, you have 3 minutes for your remarks. And if you could use the Zoom feature to raise your hand virtually or turn on your camera to raise your hand, we'll call you in the order you raise your hand for remarks. Resident remarks going once, going twice.
No, that was my hand by accident.
I was going to say, you have your own section on the agenda. You don't have to make resident
No, all of a sudden I
remarks.
saw a little hand. Maybe it was Karen.
She wants
Okay,
to speak a couple of times, leave her alone.
Right.
all right. Let's go right into new business and let's start with what Ginny added so I don't forget it afterwards. So Ginny added a 5-minute item on speeds in Howard County, vehicle speeds in Howard County.
Yeah, I've seen that on US 29. When I go up to 40, I mean, I'm doing actually 5 miles over the speed limit, doing 60, and everybody's passing me doing 70 or 80 on 29. I mean, this is, and then you see the same thing happening. At least I've seen it on Thunder Hill Road. People are basically mashing their cars over the speed bumps and, doing 35 or more. So that's my observations anyway.
I've seen it on Nextdoor talking about it. And I think the police, I think they're reading that too, but it's also on 175. It's like drag racing, and the Thunder Hill neighborhood hears it because it's going right up there, and on 29 you definitely hear it in Oakland Mills.
Right,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
really noticeable.
Yeah, that's part of the problem is between Tamar and it probably goes down to the mall.
Yeah.
Drag racing, and also on Broken Land Parkway. And this is what I heard from Owen Brown. So this is secondhand information, but the drag racing is on, the Cradle Rock, Broken Land Parkway area, Stevens Forest, and to the mall. And there were a whole bunch of them drag racing. A police car pulled one car over, and then secondhand again, I heard from one of the CA reps there that what happened was the other cars surrounded the cop car and started banging on the cop car. So there doesn't seem to be a fear of police enforcement, if that's true. And I'm checking with the CA rep, and he's checking with the village manager to see if that's continuing. But also on Route 40, we hear there's things like that. The police are looking into it, but to me, it should be put cameras up and get these, and spot these guys in radar traps. There's got to be a way of dealing with this. I'm concerned that somebody at some point is going to get killed.
Well,
So
your cameras are a good idea. I was reading that Montgomery County just expanded its camera system, and they have been getting like $50 million a year from speed tickets. And I don't know why we're not doing the same thing here in this county when it's really gotten out of hand, I guess, is what I've got to say. And I hear what you're saying about 175 because I have actually called in when I've heard things going on, because I'm not that far off of 175 and Thunder Hill Road. And they do exactly that. They're stopped at the light at Thunder Hill Road and 175, and then they just take off for Tamar and Dobbin Road. They want to beat the light that's at Tamar. So,
I think
yeah,
I think for the speed cameras in this county, it would require a legislative change because I think they're only allowed right now in school zones. In fact, they had it set up on Kilimanjaro Road between the two schools over the weekend. I don't know whether it's still there because I haven't been up that way since the weekend was over. So, that I guess I don't. Ashley's not here today, but that might be something for discussion with Ashley or with our county council person. Yeah, I've seen and heard some interesting things too. The other thing I'm noticing a lot of over on my end of Oakland Mills here, because I'm out for walks a lot, is the four-way stop at Camelback, Santiago, and Stevens Forest has always been a problem, but now that has become even more of a suggestion. And almost no one really obeys the no right on red when going from Kilimanjaro to Stevens Forest. So you have to watch what you're doing, if you're going into the crosswalk there, or if you're on a bike coming around there, something like that. So it's not just speeds. I think it's general general compliance with traffic laws is a bit lacking right now.
well, DC just recently reduced its speeds to 15 miles an hour in certain areas so that they could promote walkability and bike riding. And maybe that's something we should consider in Howard County. I mean, especially in some of the neighborhood areas. So, but, those are at least some of my thoughts. Maybe speed cameras are a way to go.
So do we want to put this on as the next thing for old business if we want to be contacting our councilman's office, or we might also include it in our budget testimony that we're doing for the county executive tonight if it's not legislative and it's funding?
I think I'm almost sure it is legislative. I'm almost sure that they cannot use them outside of school zones. It's not a funding issue because normally these speed camera programs more than fund themselves.
Well, okay, well, no, never mind. I was thinking if you just at least got some cameras showing what was happening, but you need the speed to prove it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been nice if they had cameras where allegedly the guys were surrounding the police car and banging on the police car. I don't know. I know the police usually have a camera in the front of their police car anyway, but. Okay.
Is there
Okay. Yeah, we
action?
We can, I think we can bring that back as old business, especially given that Ashley's not here with us tonight. Hopefully she'd be here at the next meeting, to hear some discussion and maybe be able to answer some of those questions. Like I said, I don't think it's a question of funding until expansion is even allowable. And then the question is, how do you fund it? But right now, I don't believe that you can even do it outside of school zones.
Okay.
All right. On to our next item, which is also new business, the county executive's first citizens budget hearing testimony. I've been looking at the budget page on the Howard County site, and they still have that at least when I looked late last week, they still had that very general timeline that says that the executive's first budget hearing will be in December as it normally is, but I haven't seen a date yet.
It
And
usually
it
isn't.
feels, okay, I was gonna say
We
it feels
usually have
kind of
to
late.
ask and it comes out very late, but this way we're prepared. It's
Okay.
usually like the second week in December, unless
Okay.
this year we're throwing it off.
Okay. So, assuming it's going to happen around then, there is that chance, I guess, that it could happen before we have our lone December meeting. So this is probably something, we need to discuss tonight and, be firm about what we want to say, by the next meeting 2 weeks from now, just in case they do announce that date and it falls, before the meeting after the next meeting. Sandy did circulate our priority letter as well as our uh, uh, budget testimony from last March. Obviously, some things in that budget testimony are still relevant if we want to keep them relevant. Other things, not so much. Obviously, the Talbot Springs rebuild is happening now. So I think when it comes to the Talbot Springs rebuild, we should probably throw in a thank you for that, because after all the years of saying we need it, we need it, we need it, we got it. So we should always be grateful, and then move on to other things that we need. Be grateful but not be satisfied is the approach I want to take. So as I was looking at schools and education, to me, it's a no-brainer to continue to say that we should be funding the schools on the operational side, at least the maintenance of effort level. And as I talked about at the last couple of excuse me, at the last couple of board meetings, I think we need to start now, highlighting the issues at Oakland Mills High School and the fact that it's not even in the capital improvement plan. And I realize that the county executive is not going to fund something that's not in the plan, but this is more to start getting it out there, to the elected officials and getting it out there to the public that you have this facility that's carrying $116 million of deferred maintenance that's not even in the plan. I really want to get people thinking about that, even though I know we're not going to get $116 million out of the blue, based on one testimony for a school that isn't even in the plan. So that's what I was thinking about when it comes to the schools. The other thing I was thinking about when it comes to the schools is I have not seen, I think I mentioned this at the last meeting or the meeting before, the school system has come out with the potential for the hybrid plan, depending on what they decide to do in the second semester. I still have not seen any evidence that, or at least any public evidence that they are looking at each facility and figuring out what the unique needs of those facilities are to make them safe to return. They're throwing the same filters in all the facilities, but then when they talk about exchanging outdoor air for indoor air, they add little caveats like where possible, or where the system can do it, but they're not saying at what schools it can happen and what schools it can't. So I do think that we need to be encouraging the county executive and eventually the county council, to making sure that funding is available to ensure that the air quality and any risk to students and teachers if they do return any people back to schools is basically not different based on the facilities, that facilities get what they need in order to be as safe as possible, and it's not dependent on their age or the quality of their HVAC systems. Again, that's not it's not an extremely specific ask with a dollar amount attached, because we don't know that the school system isn't being very transparent about what the differences in the buildings are. We just know that the buildings are different.
Okay.
So that's what I was thinking right now for schools and education. So you know, Oakland Mills High in the capital improvement plan, and then highlight the highest deferred maintenance in the system, and it's not in the plan. Funding beyond maintenance of effort, because maintenance of effort, same thing we said in the thing before, maintenance of effort actually lags the enrollment of the school system. So you need to fund it at least that level, and preferably beyond it, especially this year when enrollment might be down a little bit because of the unique circumstances. And then when they go back to school, it's gonna hop back up again. But maintenance of effort is lagging. And then finally, you know, just ensuring that we're setting funding aside, to, you know, to bring these schools up to, you know, the same standards, to ensure that there's a safe return to school if there is going to be a return of any students to the school buildings before there's a COVID vaccine available to them. So those were my three. I was looking at it from an education perspective. The other things we had last time were, we had the tree removal and replacement program, which was remove tree stumps, replace with new trees, which they are. I've noticed that they are doing, but there still doesn't seem a great deal of rhyme or reason to the way they're doing it. I still think it's strange that, you know, some streets lost their trees years ago and they're still stumps, and other trees lost their trees at the beginning of the spring and they've already been replaced. So I can't make heads or tails of that, but I think we should continue to advocate, because the trees are only getting older, and in some cases sicker because of some of the infestations and other things we have going around. We did talk about the Transitway Transportation Initiative. Now in our priority letter, they basically kind of shot that down, or at least shot our preferred route down. So we might want to talk about whether, you know, given the budget situation the county is in right now, that's one we want to, you know, keep going to bat for this year, or kind of defer. Leaf removal, median maintenance, leaf vacuum machines. I think we put that one up there every year. I think we've put it up there every year that I've been on the board as both board member and chair. And I'd still love to see it, because that's what I was doing today as soon as I signed off of work. So that was the other one in there. And then the partnership with the Columbia Association on the ice rink. And then, of course, another one we keep talking about, the investment of economic development funds to promote Oakland Mills Village via Bland Air Park, since they're right next to each other. And actually, I got kind of fired up about that one this weekend, because I was walking. I mean, you couldn't miss it if you were on this end of Oakland Mills, but I also took a long walk Sunday, and you know, there was the big lacrosse tournament going on, and you know, Recreation and Parks also uses Oakland Mills High and Oakland Mills Middle as overflow, the fields and the parking lots. So you know, thanks to Bland Air Park, there were a lot of people from a lot of places. I was looking at tags, and this was an East Coast thing. You know, I was seeing New York, Virginia, Pennsylvania. So this wasn't just a local thing. They were all over Oakland Mills. You know, they were routing them down Kilimanjaro Road to the schools. They had a tournament going next to the middle school. The high school field was in use. All the Bland Air fields were in use. And our Village Center didn't look any more or less busy than it is on any other typical Sunday. And I think that's a shame, because all these people need to eat. You know, and we have restaurants down there, and they might need to, you know, pick up some bottled water or something. And, you know, we have LA Mart there. And it's still, to me, seems like such a missed opportunity for the county. I know they've been pushing hard on Long Reach Village Center because they own it. And, you know, I see the county promoting things going on there. I don't think it takes anything away from the one they own to promote the, you know, the other one a little bit west of there, especially when it just sits right there next to this huge park that they've put so much money into building.
Yeah, I read their response on our request to get some signs in, and it said, well, we've referred this to the EDA and you're supposed to hear from them shortly, if I am paraphrasing it right.
Yes.
And nothing's happened. I mean, and that was to me, a short-term thing, an easy thing to do, and yet nothing's been done. I mean,
Yeah, it says they're working with CA and Cedar, but we've not heard anything.
yeah, I mean, to me, it was, you know, a verbal response with no follow-through.
Yeah, I've not seen or heard anything. Jenny may be able to comment on anything that they've done with CA, but in my exchanges with Cedar, Cedar certainly hasn't acknowledged that anything's happening. In fact, Cedar was interested in more signage, and I told them about this, and they said, and they were like, they were asking me, who do we get in touch with, who do we talk to at the county and even the state level. So I gave them some contact information, but as far as I know, nothing has come of that. Jenny, do you have a hand raised?
Yeah. Well, as far as any contact with CA, I'm not aware of it. I'll double check tomorrow, but I haven't heard anything. I guess I'm wondering if the merchants couldn't be a little assertive about going up there and passing out, you know, $1 off flyers or something, having a kid do that, and directions how to get to the pizza place, the Chinese place, etc. I don't know whether that might work in terms of making people, I was up there too with all the people that were coming in. I thought it was La Crosse or something. We were driving to the park. It was amazing. It was like, oh God, I hope they were all wearing masks or something, but it was very crowded. So maybe the merchants need to look together about how they could produce something and have somebody hand it out as well. More than a sign is what I'm saying, the personal touch, maybe that'll get people to come down.
Oh yeah, I definitely think there are things the merchants could do as well. But in talking to some of the merchants, they've also thought that it would be great if
Oh, no, I
they
agree.
could get some of that help. So
No, I agree with that, and I'll double check with CA, see if they've heard anything from economic development. I'm not aware of any contact at all. But maybe we can initiate it then. We'll go and initiate it. If they
Yeah.
have a place where it's a CA property, open space, and they want to put the sign there, we'll just initiate it and not wait for them. Okay.
I mean, the county's making a lot of verbal noises about redevelopment of village centers, et cetera, et cetera. And here's just basic marketing. I'm frankly not impressed by the EDA in this county. I don't think they do much other than take money, at least from what I've seen. And as I said before, this is an easy fix to get some signs there. These merchants pay taxes like we do. They should be getting something to help them out. For what the county keeps saying is, we need to redevelop all these villages and make sure that, the retail is doing well. Well, no follow through.
mhm.
Yeah, part of the problem is they made it easy in terms of leaving the park and getting on 175 and shooting up to Dobbin. And there's just tons of options in the Dobbin centers. Is pretty bad, is pretty serious competition. And it's easy.
Yeah, but it's quite a ways. You basically
Not really.
have to go down and then cross 175 and make that turn. I mean,
No. You just cut from the park, the back way near the tennis court, you go right onto 175. You're right there.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. But I mean, on the other hand, they're using the Oakland Mills School campus as overflow.
Right.
So, when they do that, everyone has to point in the direction of the village center to come across Kilimanjaro to park at those schools and then use those school fields. I mean, everyone playing lacrosse on the middle school field, if you were on the team going for the north goal, you were running toward the village center and still may not have realized it was there, since the interfaith center is in between the two.
Now that's a great point. And, a merchant might want to have, as I say, a kid out there making X number of dollars an hour. And as soon as the car pulls in, you hand them the flyer, hey, you can get a pizza or whatever at a discount or something like that. And you know, they have it when they drive in the morning. You're right, that would be an opportunity
And
too.
Duncan, I mean, now that we have him, there are
Mhm.
more merchants in the center and more that have maybe a little extra marketing income.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Little Caesars too. I mean, that's a big company.
Yep. Yeah. No, I think they, I wish we had something we had years and years ago. There was a merchants association, remember?
Yeah.
It was very active, and I don't know what's happened in the last 5 years or something, but there's no merchants association.
I tried to egg a couple of merchants into reviving that, and they thought it sounded good, and then I think they just got, kind
We
of
invited
distracted
them
with
all for
the.
lunch and like, the cleaners came. I think Mrs. Kim's daughter came and
Oh no, this is since the
Yeah.
cleaners closed.
Yeah,
This
I
was in the
mean,
past couple of years. I walked around and tried to encourage that, and I got a couple of positive responses, but quite honestly, I think they just tend to go back to the daily struggle of running a small business, and they're not finding the time to do that. I mean, a couple of these businesses in the village center, they truly are family businesses. You basically have the owner and their family working there. They don't necessarily have a lot of staff or a lot of other connections to the other businesses. They're too busy just getting by on what they have. So anyway, those were, from what we did last year, those were my ideas. I'm not sure whether whether the transitway is something that we pursue right now, given their response to our letter. I think we do continue to pursue the link between Bland Air and the village. I think we should always be pursuing the ice rink, because I know others are, but they're pursuing ice rinks in other parts of Howard County. And the last thing ours needs is competition, because that would be the end. And then, and the rest. But was there anything new that we wanted to add to it this year?
I think we need to drop the transitway thing, since they have definitely shut that down, and there's obviously not enough budget to do anything about that anytime soon. But I would love to replace it with just our focus on other connections, such as bike possibility along Snowden River to connect Oakland Mills to downtown, or 108 or Little Patuxent, other ways that we can connect Oakland Mills to the rest of Columbia. I'd love to just restate our priorities in that, if that makes sense.
So is that a reinforcement of continued funding, or even increased funding toward the, is it still called Bike Howard, or did it change names under the new administration? I'm not even sure now.
I would call it Complete Streets.
Okay.
Right. Uh-huh.
But that's my thing. So I don't know if everybody else wants that in there.
I think it's a good one.
Yeah.
If we can't have the direct transitway, like at least have other ways that we can get, here from other places, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever taken the walkway across to the downtown, Rebecca?
At least once a week.
So you know about that connection.
Yeah. But from our neighborhood, it's so much easier sometimes to do 108 or 175, and that's just not pedestrian or bike friendly.
Oh yeah, that's.
And at the other end of Stevens Forest, the same deal. Towards Broken Land, it's quite out of the way to go all the way over to the bridge and into downtown, when you can just do Broken Land right there, if that were safer.
So is there certain roads that you can like send us that we can, as a biker, so our testimony is more specific to Oakland Mills? Because I don't know them. I'm not a biker.
I wouldn't say our own, hold on a second, kiddo. I wouldn't say our own priorities. I would just support, the Complete Streets plan that supports Oakland Mills.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? All right, Sandy, do you have good notes on that? Because I actually have two screens going here and still can't keep up and take notes
Yeah.
at the same time we're talking.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll draft something up over the next couple of weeks. Is this one of those times where we have 3 weeks between board meetings, or is it two?
No,
Whatever it
it's-
is, we'll have it drafted
It's
up for
right
the next
before
meeting to bring
Thanksgiving,
it.
but I don't think anyone's going anywhere, so
Yeah,
it's the
yeah, we were
24th.
we talked about that at the last meeting or the one before, and we concluded that we could probably hold that meeting. So
Yeah, we
you
could
know,
probably meet on Christmas. No, not that I
no, 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 no.
No, not going there.
So
New Year's, any day.
we'll bring a draft back as old business at the next meeting.
Okay.
And like I said, not knowing exactly when the date's coming in December, I think we should make it our goal to, if we can, approve that at the next meeting, so that if we need to be ready to go, we're ready to go. You know, should it fall in like the first week of December before we meet again?
Yep.
Okay. We didn't have old business tonight,
No.
so I guess we're on to the board chair report. Um, I think at the past two meetings, about my concerns about the public perception, and also the coverage by both the media and the school system of the schools in Oakland Mills. And I think I mentioned that it seems to get worse as you go up, from the elementary schools to the middle schools to the high schools. So I was part of a forum last week on Oakland Mills Online where we were talking about that, and it was actually great because four of our principals came. The principal of the high school, the principal of the middle school, the principal of Talbot Springs, and the principal of Lake Elkhorn Middle, which isn't in Oakland Mills, but it's part of the Oakland Mills school cluster. And it was a really nice conversation, and there's going to be another forum around that, I believe, next week, where there's going to be some discussion about how the broader community, can try to play their part and combat the negative perceptions about their schools, but also basically call people to task on giving positive coverage. I actually learned some accomplishments from our schools at that meeting that even I wasn't aware of, from inside Oakland Mills, that for whatever reason is not getting out there. And these aren't small accomplishments. These are statewide or countywide honors that aren't even getting recognized by the school system itself. So it's definitely a problem, and it's something that is not just noticed by people who are very involved in the community like we are, but also noticed by the students at the schools, because there were students at the schools on. And with that said, I gave a report on education activities. I think it was about 3 meetings ago. And I talked about that group called Oakland Mills United, that was founded by a couple of 2020 Oakland Mills High School graduates, and now has, I want to say they have about 50 or so members, students, current and immediate former students of the Oakland Mills school cluster. And Bill had given the suggestion of, they should come in and talk at a board meeting. So I met with one of their co-founders last week, and his name is Sam, and he graduated last year. He went to Talbot Springs, Oakland Mills Middle, Oakland Mills High. And he talked about partnering with the board because we have similar objectives when it comes to the school, not only the perception of the schools, but also the treatment of the schools in terms of investment in those schools. And I said, well, we'd like to have you at a board meeting, and he said, great. When can we come? So I'm going to get them onto an agenda probably in January. It was a little late to schedule them for this one. They wouldn't have been ready, and then not knowing exactly what's going on with the budget, I didn't want to take up. I really didn't want to schedule them during that week of Thanksgiving meeting, because we need to do the budget. That might not be a well-attended meeting anyway, with it being the week of Thanksgiving. And then the one December meeting we're going to have is largely going to be the town hall that Paul is holding on the visioning. So we'll aim for January with them, but they will be coming in to talk to us. And just as a preview, they're really interested in partnering with us to get the message about the Oakland Mills schools out. So I think that's, I think we already know how we feel about that. They basically found us because they found the education objectives online, and they said, oh, this sounds a lot like what we want to do. So, that's how they found their way to me to begin with. So I think that'll be a productive conversation with them in January. Let's see, other board chair items. I didn't have a whole lot going on this week. I'm trying to think if there's anything I've missed. No real news out of the Village Center as it pertains to the second chance vacancy, other than Cedar says they're, looking at their options for what to do with that part of the facility, which is kind of a a vague, meaningless response, but at least they responded, I guess. And I think that's about all I have, unless there are questions for me or something I forgot to report out on.
Yeah, do you have anything on the laundry as to what's going on with that?
Oh, it's
Oh,
open.
they're open.
Oh, they're open?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
sent
they're open.
out a big email and they're open. Looks nice. I don't know that there's a lot of people in there yet, but yeah, they opened last week. The managers contacted me and we sent out a big email on Facebook. I know a lot of people saw it, more than most posts, and people were receptive, like welcoming when they heard the news. So hopefully it'll be successful. It does like pick up, drop off, delivery. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's not just go into a laundromat. So it's a full service laundromat and it's state of the art machines. It looks very clean, nice and bright. So hopefully they'll do well. They had applied for signs and we went through a great process with Cedar and the non-residential committee. They're not up yet. They put things in the windows right now and they might put some banners. So they're having a nice sign made that goes with the other signs in the Village Center. So that was a good process that we had with Cedar. So hopefully it'll work out. I did ask about the hair salon, which there's a big banner, but there's nothing going on. So I said that could they take the banner down? There's really nothing going on. And when they open, so Melanie, the property manager, she doesn't know a lot about the leasing part, but she'd find out because I don't really feel like we need this huge banner when there's just paper on the windows and no one going in and out. And we're working on just the second chance property. Karina and I did a very extensive walkthrough, so they know that there's a lot of structural things that need to be addressed, and they are very responsive to us. I don't have a timeline yet, but as soon as we email them, they're right on it. So they've been very good to work with at that end.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, one other thing about the laundromat, because I know, there was some initial concern because the description was kind of vague about how it would be staffed, and it sounded like it was going to be, a 24/7 operation. It is staffed. We know that there's a manager on site, and they also have employees for the services they provide. And I believe its hours are 6 to 10 on weekdays and then 7 to 10 on weekends. So, they're basically, they're opening a little earlier than the other businesses, staying open a little later to serve those who, have day jobs and need to drop things off early or do things later at night. But, certainly not open through the night as it was, I think, initially described to us, because I think initially it was described as a 24/7 operation.
Which we probably didn't
Or
support
it was
at the time.
it was very, yeah, it was either described that way or it was very vague and almost implied that it would be. But I know there were some concerns over that, but they do have fixed hours from, like I said, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. on weekdays, and then I think it's 7 to 10 on weekends. All right. Anything else?
Oh,
If not, I'll pass it on to Ginny so she can talk to us about restrooms.
are we taking a 5-minute break here that I didn't know about or something? Okay. Well, first of all, now that we have a really nice looking facility with all the improvements that I think the CA staff, and I haven't heard otherwise, did a really good job on, we need to get the bathrooms upstairs. That is the restrooms on the second floor is so overdue. I mean, really, it's just, I think it'll just help us market the facility more, much more convenient. Especially how many people can you fit on an elevator that really needs the elevator to get down, then they got to walk through the downstairs to get to the restrooms. And if you're renting the downstairs, that doesn't go over big. So it's a really bad situation. CA has agreed to go in, and the first step is to study it. So that will be done. And as I told you before, they'll be contacting Sandy and working with you, Sandy, and you would expect this to work together to have the guys come out, look at, et cetera. They'll make a decision that they'll present to the board as to whether it's feasible or not. Now, and I know we're all certainly hoping it is feasible. They'll also be able to give us an estimate on what the costs would be. But we did have a problem with Wild Lake, Oakland over there, Town Center, where people were waiting to get an elevator for years on the outside of the building because you really can't do it inside. And there was a budget item finally in the budget, but it turned out it wasn't feasible to do it. In fact, even Town Center said, forget about it. So things like that happen. I am really hopeful that this study will show that this is not only needed, but we can do it within the constraints of the building. So that will be really nice to end that once and for all. There's only about 8 million in the capital budget, and I just want to share at some point in FY 2024, we're hoping it'll go back up to about 15 million, but right now can't really afford more. And it's really to address safety concerns and the most critical needs of our aging infrastructure. And you all know what that is. Like, for example, a roof replacement in the Owen Brown Community Center. You'll see a lot of these things are involving your community centers, our larger buildings. But the roof is leaking right now. They really need that now. I certainly intend to vote for that item. But there's a couple of other items that concern me about, my emphasis has been on how can we work and partner with the county, the state, and the feds to get them to help us. For example, 200 grand for Lake Elkhorn dam improvements. Wild Lake Dam improvements, 200,000. What I'm raising with the CA board and the CA staff is there a way that we can get the county to contribute some, the state open space program, the delegation, the feds, maybe there's some federal money for open space or for water, et cetera. We need to be exploring those because those lakes, as well as many of our lakes, paths, et cetera, are used by more than just Columbia lien payers, let's face it. And our lien payers are also paying for similar facilities in the county. So they're paying property taxes for those facilities. They're also paying for the Columbia facilities. And I just think maybe the county should be, and the state and the feds should be trying to help us out. So I've been pushing that for a couple of years now, and people seem to be taking it more seriously, and we're going to be exploring that. There's another example here if you play golf, Fairview.
Fairway Hills.
I'm sorry, Fairway Hills, $120,000 for watershed stabilization. But that would be pending the proposal for what to do really with Fairway Hills. We had a staff work done, and we were supposed to have had a hearing on it last March when the virus and everything hit. So we never actually got to see what the proposal would be. But the area that the golf course is located in is costing a lot of money for bridges being blown out, flooding, et cetera. So should it be a 18-hole golf course, or should it be a combination of a 9-hole and something else, maybe more family oriented, or other things? I don't know the answer, and the public will have an opportunity to hear at the same time the CA board hears it. And we will be receiving input on that as to what's the best way to deal with the Fairway Hills replacement. I know one of our board members that represents that area is very upset about any changes because, quote, people bought property in that area knowing they had a golf course. I understand where he's coming from, but I think we have to look at what is the best thing for Columbia overall, and the residents that have to pay for this. So what is the best use? So that's what we'll be looking at. As far as the budget schedule, it's online, and you can see we will get the budget, operating budget. We have the capital budget now. People can be commenting on that now. They can see that online. But the operating budget, we will get January 8th, and that will be a staff budget. Then January 14th, I'm hoping the 28th, I'm pushing for a meeting on the 28th. That's if necessary. I think it will be necessary. February 11th, February 18th are all opportunities for people to testify at resident speak out, or they can be sending us emails, which they're doing now. Believe me, we're getting lots of emails on, I want this, I want that, or don't cut this, et cetera, or this is really important to me. So we've been getting those for the last couple of months. But the 25th is when we will be voting a final vote on both the operating and the capital budget. The other thing we're trying to improve, and there are a couple of residents in Oakland Mills that really have been helping on this, I really appreciate it, is to how we communicate with the residents. You have some people saying, well, CA is transparent or CA isn't transparent. And when you argue that, or a staff person will say to me, CA's information on the budget and everything's available, it always has been. Why is people saying we're not open, we're not transparent? My point is, it is not easy to find it. It's not easy to find out how to sign up for resident speak out. So we've got to simplify these things and make it simpler. And I'm working on that and using a couple of residents as sort of what I consider a focus group. And I think you're going to see a lot of improvements very, very shortly in how we make this information available and user-friendly. So I'm kind of pleased with that. The last thing Paul and I probably should talk about, the study that CA is doing with the consultants to see what position we should be taking on the general plan. It gets a little heated at times. Would you say that, Paul?
Yes, there's definitely differences of opinion.
Right. One thing though, and I want to present this to you guys and see what your reaction will be. I offered Oakland Mills again. I usually offer Oakland Mills as a pilot. I did it again. What happened was we had a lot of consultants, and one is Don Elliott, who wrote a book and did the work actually for the previous county executive on how to go about changing the regulations, et cetera, the general plan. And he it would be available again, but the former director of planning and zoning, Uri, who's very good, he's excellent, is now with the Urban Institute, and he's one of the consultants. And he said, he made an offer. I don't think most people were paying attention to what he said, but he was saying, yeah, I agree, because I was saying you have to be predictable. You have to, the residents and the developers both have to know what exactly they have can do on certain properties. So it's predictable. And you can't have more hearings than you really need. You need to look at Council Bill 29. You have to have a process that makes sense for both the residents to have their say and also the developers, if you want to attract really good developers. Otherwise, they're not going to bother coming here if this process is impossible. So he said, he thought, why doesn't somebody take advantage of all these consultants and these people with knowledge that are currently that we're working with to look at a village center? So I said, I'd like to see if Oakland Mills Village Board would be interested in maybe having them look. There's no cost involved. they would just give us an idea of the village center and what they thought might work or might not work. But one of the things we got a lot of praise for from some of the people on the panel was they thought we did an excellent job with the plan that we developed under Council Bill 29 for the village center. What they were stressing is we didn't do just the center that is owned by Cedar Properties because we knew that would not work. We did the apartments, we did the schools, we did the interfaith center, we expanded out. And he said that is really a good community plan. They were very impressed. So I don't know what you guys think about that, whether you want Paul and I to really explore that seriously and see if we can get some free legal advice on what might work, what might not work. And it's advisory. We can choose to forget about it.
What kind of consultants are these?
There's all types. I can get you their resumes. One's a Harvard professor, one's with the Urban Institute. It's a group that CA hired to work with us on developing a statement for the county on our position on the general plan as it impacts on Newtown. And you can look at some of the meetings we've had already and what the work plan was, et cetera, if you'd like.
Yeah, one of the areas that they want to look at in the general plan is redevelopment of the villages, particularly in Columbia. And you know, I'm in favor of pilots and getting any free help we can get, anything that will help the village. So you know, I think that Jenny's offer in that meeting was a good one. And you know, we should move forward and let them at least look at it and see what might be helpful. There was a comment on the way it's structured now within the county on CB 29 that the village basically their input is advisory and not regulatory. Although I think it's a bit different in Oakland Mills because, in fact, we have a regulatory function because we control all the non-residential covenants. So we're unlike, yeah, we're unlike every other village. And
Other villages do as well.
Pardon?
Other villages do as well. Wild Lake, Harbor's Choice, Hickory Ridge, yeah.
Yeah, but they don't have
Covenant control?
They don't have control over the non-residential covenants like we
Yeah,
do.
they do.
Yeah, so some of the other older villages do.
Right, I think there's 2 others that do, but the majority of them don't. But the point that was being brought up was basically it's another potential, not a potential, it is an actual another layer of approval. And what, I forget the guy's name who talked to us, he said, you know, you should be looking at things that you absolutely want, some conditional items that you'd like to see, and maybe set up a point system for what you want to see within the village. And so long as a developer hit those, then you'd be willing to go along with that. I thought that was a good way of presenting, you know, what you actually absolutely want versus some other things that would be favorable, but it would provide kind of a smorgasbord for a developer to pick from and present. So
Don Elliott, Paul, that's the guy that wrote.
yeah, Don Elliott.
He does not work for developers. He only works for communities, and he was the consultant that the previous administration had hired. And we met with him a couple of times. in the past, but then they decided not to switch consultants and go a different direction than what had originally been planned for the county. But that's his position. In other words, a developer knows what to expect, so you'll get a better class of developer that really is willing to spend money, as long as it doesn't take 10 years to get something done or something like that. Is the point. But it has to be something the community has approved certain standards in advance, but that you all agree to it. So therefore the guy knows, or woman knows what they're getting into.
Right.
Yeah, and he.
So I think, I mean, I think the first thing we need to do is, put this on a future agenda as business, so the community knows that we're talking about doing something like this, so we can get feedback. I think free help is fantastic. I guess the thing we need to be careful of is how we as the village board message it and communicate it, because I'll use the old saying, it takes two to tango. So it's fantastic, if we come up with a vision for what the village center area can be, and it's even fantastic if there's a developer who shares that vision and might be interested in doing something. But of course, then we have a lot of current land and facility owners in and around the village center who may or may not be interested in being part of this. And if they want to hold on to what they have, then it makes it difficult for us to do anything other than dream. So, I think it's something where we have to have the discussion, and we also have to have the discussion with them about the reality of the situation. We're not in a long reach situation, or maybe a former long reach situation, where the county bought it and now they're figuring out what to do with it. And at one time they were very willing sellers looking for the right developer. We're in a situation where we do have some authority. CA does own some of the property around the village center, but the vast majority of it is in private hands, and not even a few private hands, many private hands. So I just think we have to be careful about that, and getting the cart too far ahead of the horse.
Yeah, well, this is not like the plan that we did, the village center plan, that I think we took 2 years to do it. This is simply, they would just come in based on their international experience, knowing the location, knowing, Washington, Baltimore, blah, blah, blah. And they would just give you an idea, which you could choose to tell share with Oakland Mills residents, say, what do you think? But obviously it will be not well thought down to the last thing, et cetera. So you give it the weight that it deserves. It's just another idea that somebody has. It's not a big deal, but it's making use of people that are getting paid a lot of money to be consultants and aren't going to be sent from Oakland Mills. It's like picking somebody's brain. And that's the weight you give it. So yeah. I don't think it should be threatening to the residents, because
oh no, I'm not concerned at all about it being threatening toward the residents. I don't want the residents to misinterpret and think that the village center is getting redeveloped, because we're potentially a long way from that. And like I said, the people who own it now have to be willing to commit to that type of redevelopment.
There's a lot. Implementation is different from just looking at this. Implementation would be an entirely different process. And yeah, we got to get that message across that we are not even talking about implementation. In fact, we're really not talking about a plan that's been extremely well thought out. This is their best opinion.
Yeah.
We got a person from Harvard on this and others, Urban Institute. So yeah, no, it's just, do we take advantage of, hey, they could, I was the only one that said something. Suddenly Wild Lake not Wild Lake, but
they got enough already.
Yeah. Except they can't seem to rent those retail stores, a couple of those retail stores.
They're having problems.
Yeah, they got one rented on that apartment complex, but they can't seem to get the other 2 or 3. That's very interesting. So anyway, that's what it's about. If you guys want, they're going to be leaving soon, so we really we can't wait too long.
Bring it back, John, next week or in 2 weeks as old business?
Yeah.
Because they leave in December. I mean, they finish in December with CA, so they're not going to be coming back to take a look at Oakland Mills. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Ginny. Any other questions for Ginny?
Yeah, quick question.
Yeah.
Can you update us about the light show? Because I rode by Meriwether the other day and they have all the Symphony of Lights lights up.
Ooh, sore point.
There is the legal suit, so that's tying my hands. The CA board is meeting Thursday in a closed session with all the lawyers. The CA's position has not changed. We are responsible for the land and you cannot put anything on our land without our permission. What somebody else does will be dealt with. So but we are meeting this Thursday to just talk with the lawyers again. We've appealed the case because the judge was taking too long. So I really shouldn't say anymore. Okay, because we've got people that could be writing stuff down that I'm saying. So I'm not. If that's all right with you, yeah.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
didn't.
Jonathan, that's okay.
Jenny,
Hey, Jonathan, Cindy's recording it.
Jenny, here's a blue sky thought on that, since they're encroaching on your land. I'm wondering if at your maintenance facility, you have the precast concrete barriers that are used in roads, you know, to channel traffic when they're working on stuff, whether you could put those in at a couple points that would make it impossible to do that festival of lights on your land?
Believe me, everything is being considered. Thank you, Paul. Yeah. I don't believe, Rebecca, that they've actually put anything on CA property yet. It's down there, but I don't believe they've done that
I didn't see all of them. I just saw some up and
as of
ready.
today. But yeah, everything is on the table as far as the board's concerned. I think our job, and this was an election year issue, certainly in Oakland Mills and in a couple of other places. Our job is to protect the land for you, but also for other generations. And if that's not done, we've got a lot of open space, guys, a lot of open space, and either cherish it or you don't. So it's a very serious issue. I know there's all this, I won't even get into the rest of it, but that's basic.
I think you have us.
Yeah.
You've got us understanding.
Well, actually, the Oakland Mills board, I don't know how many times I've said this, showed the leadership in taking a position on that. You were the first, and then other boards followed, but you were the first. So yeah, I'm speaking to the choir, never mind. I always I use Oakland Mills as an example. Hey, Oakland Mills.
All right, I'll go ahead and buy my overpriced tickets to the zoo lights then.
Right.
I'm not going to comment.
Thanks, Ginny. Sandy.
Okay. We're still working remotely. And I actually must say that I think I've had more conversations and gotten to know more residents now than when I was sitting in my office and they just didn't have to come in. They didn't call me or contact me. And also helping out with the covenant advisor stuff, just having great conversations with people. And they're always amazed that myself and my staff like immediately get back to them because we're here, we're sitting at our computers. And so I really can feel like we haven't missed a beat. Brigitta's on here. I'm going to unmute her. That's too bad, Brigitta. She likes to be muted. And she's still giving tours. And I think we're grateful now that our renters were also smart enough to know that they didn't want to hold large parties during COVID. Hi, Brigitta. Because things are getting tough now. We don't have any coming up, and I'm glad for that because the one rental we had recently or a while ago wasn't they weren't adhering in the masks like they should have. And it puts our staff and other guests in a very precarious position. So for all that, that is good. We continue to be fiscally sound because we've cut down a lot, of course, more than half in our salaries, our expenses. We have no repairs and maintenance. Toilets aren't breaking every week. So, I mean, we had so many repairs, and the neighborhood centers that we pay for, which is fine, we're using them. But so that's all, and even to the other barn. And again, Ginny, it was great working with everyone at CA through the improvements. I wrote a letter and thanked some people specifically in it and sent it to Dennis and I think in the CA board, because that all was a really good process. And any issues that came up, there's a guy named Josh Bennett who works there and kind of oversaw all the projects, and he just was great to work with, as was everyone. So that worked out well. Let's see what other things are going on. Brigida is going to talk about what we're going to do for the holidays, and it's not events because I don't think that we should be hosting events, but I asked her to fill you in on what we are going to do. Brigida, there's Brigida. She exists. Are you there?
I think she's frozen.
Frozen. Okay.
Yeah, she's down there at the very bottom of my screen. There she just moved.
Okay.
I'm upstairs, so I'm sorry about the internet. My house, there's too many people. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Columbia Community Cares is, two things. It's hosting a toy drive, and the Oakland Mills High School is collecting for their food pantry, which their next distribution is on November 18th, and then they'll have a distribution in December. So Sandy asked me if she thought we should do some sort of time for people to come to the other barn and have a box outside for people to drop off items. And as it turns out, this coming Saturday, I'll be giving tours during the morning. And then again, the first Saturday of December, I think it's the first Saturday, I'll be giving tours again because some people just simply can't make it during the week. So I've been going in on Saturdays once or twice when I can. But Sandy and I will both be there. And although they take the tour, I don't go on the tour with them because of COVID. I just let them take it, and then I give them the information and explain whatever they need to be explained and have a conversation with them once they get back downstairs. So we're going to have the boxes out front and allow people to come during that time and drop off food donations as well as new toys or mittens and hats and gloves for Columbia Community Cares. And that toy drive, once we have the toy drive, I think they have all the information as to where we bring it and how they distribute it. But I have an email in draft form that will hopefully go out tomorrow, letting the community know that. Since we can't really have too many holiday things, this is kind of, we can give back, and that can kind of be our holiday joy for this year in this very strange, crazy time that we're in. And one other thing I did want to say when you were talking about all the renovations too, if I can just throw this in here, everybody who's coming for a tour has just raved about the new floor, and they think the carpet looks beautiful. Everything looks wonderful. They can't say enough nice things. And to take away the dance floor, it gives everybody kind of a new way they can lay out the tables. It gives them a few more options. So they've been thrilled. So I just wanted to let you know that as well. I've heard very wonderful comments as they've taken tours.
And if anyone wants to see the building, just let us know, and one of us can meet you there and give you a personal tour because we're around.
Brigida, I'll pass that on to staff. I know they got Sandy's letter, which was very nice, and they appreciated that. So I'll pass on your comments too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ginny.
Just one quick thing. I think you guys were pretty wise in when you going to accept rentals, et cetera. Some of us were wrecked today about what the governor was going to say. I was really worried he was going to say, close your gyms. And that means we're going to lay off another couple of hundred people. And then that's a big source of income. So he didn't say that, thank God. I know my daughter's worried about that. She has a gym in Minnesota and her governor's going to be speaking and they're really worried he's going to say that. So it's scary. It really is. Because we could be losing 800 or some odd people. We got a lot of people working in those gyms and golf, everything, all the facilities, and they're finally back at work, thank God. And now it was a little scary what he was going to say.
Are they having any concerns in the gyms with anyone testing positive, or have they had to do anything? I'm just curious.
I'm not aware of anybody testing positive. I can double check that, but I'm in the gym every day working out, and I am so impressed with the staff, with all the security things, safety things that we implemented, and the staff and what's happening and how they go around cleaning machines, even though you clean them before and after. And for the most part, Bill's in there all the time, 99.8% of the residents or participants they do exactly what they're supposed to do. You get one character, I think all the time I've been there, one or two people where they don't seem to realize the nose is part of their anatomy and should
My
be
biggest pet peeve.
And so I go like this. No, I mean this finger. I go like this. But that works sometimes. But there was one Chuck got in a big argument about. He absolutely refused to put on a mask. So we reported him, but then they couldn't find him. So that's rare. That is very rare.
If we all behave ourselves, we can have nice things.
Yeah, really.
Really, really. I mean, so I'm impressed with the people in this area and how they act in stores, in the gyms, et cetera. That's what we need nationwide.
I agree.
I recently discovered this.
Oh.
So that you can zoom safely.
We can see you.
You have to teach us that one next time during your report. That's cool.
Your face, that's amazing.
You know what I thought you had there? I thought you had the mask where there's one guy, it opens in top and the bottom and he eats. I thought that's what you were going to.
No, Zoom added masks. You can mask yourself on Zoom now. So that, I guess
That's so funny.
you can't pass computer viruses.
The beauty
How do you
of
do
Zoom
that?
is that you don't have to wear a mask.
So on mine, it's down in the video. There's a little arrow on the video button, and it says choose video filter, and you can do different filters now. So you can go with that one. You can go with the more surgical looking one.
Oh, wow. I see it.
I think my iPad is limited. It doesn't have that
Next
option.
meeting. Okay. That is so cute.
Rebecca just got lost in the grass there.
Yeah, I don't know what you wanted.
All right, Sandy,
Thank
did you have
you.
anything else in your report?
No.
Okay. Lynn isn't here. I'm not aware of any architecture matters to take up
no.
today.
Just it's great. We had 17 applications. I think those RAC meetings are one of my favorite nights of the week. It's such a great committee, and people are everyone's there because it's Zoom, and they're working with everyone, and it's been a great process, and we continue to have a lot of sales, as does everywhere else in the area. Houses are going on the market one day and they're sold the next day. So that whole process is working great. We have had like 5 new homeowners at the last meeting, just moved in and applying. So it's really working out well.
Well, you'll be getting one from me soon if my contractor ever sends me the pictures I need.
Okay.
Bill?
Same here.
Just real quick, Ginny, would you ask Chuck to please model his T-shirt for the
What's
audience?
it say?
Could you ask Chuck to model his T-shirt for the audience, please?
Oh, I didn't catch that. What is it?
Oh.
It's good.
Very good.
Thank you, Chuck.
Can I order one for mine in like
Ginny's
extra
muted
large?
though, so we can't hear them.
Oh, Ginny, we can't hear Chuck.
Maybe she didn't want us to.
But again,
All right. My wife did not give me this shirt. My daughter bought it. She bought me 2 shirts and she likes the other one. It says, I don't need Google. My wife knows everything.
go away. Oh, I can't take him anyplace. Okay.
Perfect. All right. Well, it looks like we're on to the bulletin board. Amy, do you have anything?
No, I do not.
Okay. Ginny?
No, thanks, guys, for a lot of good laughs tonight.
Bill?
Nope.
Okay. Rebecca?
Quick question, just wanting to address the elephant in the room. Has anybody heard from Larry
Not directly.
Jonathan? No.
at all?
No, every email has been
Returned, right?
returned.
Yeah.
Returned.
Do we need to do anything? My
Yes. Jonathan?
Do we need to do anything about that?
Well, actually, we do, because according to our bylaws, he's missed 4 consecutive meetings. So Sandy is going to have to send I'd have to look up the bylaw reference, but I think what Sandy's,
It's a amendment to the bylaws. Yeah, it's in there.
yeah, is she's going to have to send a note to his last known address, informing him that he's missed 4 meetings, because missing 4 consecutive meetings is basically giving up your seat on the board. And I believe he would have 10 days to respond to that note with basically a request to come before the board and explain why he's missed the 4 meetings. And then the board could determine whether it accepts that and says you stay on the board, or it doesn't accept that and sorry, you've given up your seat. And if he doesn't respond, then we'll have a vacancy on the board.
I guess I thought that, since he was running in the election, after the election, he might reappear, but that does not appear to be the case.
I saw
No.
a statement on that a blogger put, and he said he's, focusing on his personal life and will be stepping away from politics. I don't know if that meant this board or not, but that was a public statement I just happened to read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was and it was on his campaign website. I think that's where the blogger picked it up, because I saw
okay.
a screenshot of it. Yeah, that's why I said I haven't heard anything directly, but he's put stuff out there to the public.
That was all. Just
Okay.
that, we haven't heard from him. All his emails seem to be returned, and just concerned, and what should be our steps.
Yeah, I mean, all we can really do is what we're required to do, which would be the letter to him in the mail, inquiring about his absences. But yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone here has heard directly from him, and I don't really have another way of reaching him. Once the email started bouncing back, I don't know how to reach him except delivering a letter to his last known address.
And I think somebody went to his address to see if she could find him, but did not. So anyway, carry on.
Okay.
I will.
All right, Paul.
Yeah, speaking about politics, the DC Metroplex BWI Roundtable is going to have a meeting on November the 17th. People can listen in on it if anybody's interested in doing that. I can give them the link for it. The issue has been that the FAA, since we sent in our request, I think it was last October, has basically, it seems, not done much or anything with what the roundtable requested. They were looking at, we were looking at changing some of the performance-based navigation. And actually had gotten some cooperation from Southwest since they have like 70% of the flights out of BWI. They actually had their chief captain fly the routes that we were proposing to see whether they were doable. And basically those were submitted to the FAA's technical committee. And supposedly we're going to be hearing about if any of it is going to be acceptable to the FAA. I was reading in the paper on Sunday that Montgomery County and I think Fairfax County have pooled like $250,000 to do some technical analysis to deal with their noise situation. Now, we haven't had to do that kind of thing because BWI is a state airport and we've been supported basically by funding through the Maryland Aviation Administration. So, and then there's a study that was supposed to be done. It was supposed to be legislatively taken care of. It actually got passed, but Hogan vetoed it, but he found funding in another source, and that's to basically analyze the noise that's coming and also air pollutants, from what I understand. When that's supposed to be done, I have no idea. As I said, this is the first meeting since last October. We have to decide on a chair and a vice chair. And I'm hoping that since we haven't had any meetings, that we haven't lost our momentum. So stay tuned on this one.
Thanks, Paul. Bog?
Yeah, I have just small issue to share with you. Last week, I found that a large branch of tree was thrown on the medium area on the grasses between the two lanes. So I thought somebody may have got tree cut and somebody will just remove that. But the large branch is still lying there. So what can we do to alert neighbors?
Oh, that fell from a tree on the opposite side of the street that overhangs the street, and I think someone dragged it to the median. And I noticed that it has, I was going to report it, but it's already been reported to the county, so they need to come out and clear the median.
So it
But
fell.
I think someone dragged it there to clear the road.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. I didn't, because when I came back home, I found that, well, a large, huge branch of tree was lying on the median.
Yeah, I think someone dragged it off the road so that no one would hit it with their car, and they must have also reported it to the county, because I saw it on the C-Click fix list as the median needing a large tree branch removed.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Okay, Sandy.
I have nothing.
All right. I guess that leaves me. So I don't have much other than to say tomorrow is Veterans Day. So to everyone who has served, thank you very much for your service. And I know we have a couple of spouses of former armed services members. So thank them for their service, and good night, everyone.
Good night.
Okay, good night.
All right,
Good
we're
night.
adjourned.